The history of the Unperson. Unpersons in 1984. Growing up in the early 1900s, George Orwell was influenced by totalitarian governments, including that of the Germans and Soviets, to create a dystopian novel showing the horrors of totalitarianism. Throughout Orwell's 1984, we see the effects of the all-powerful government as they take control over the citizens' minds, history, language, virtually every aspect of society. In 1984, we are able to see that through the party's control over history and by monitoring citizens' speech, people can actually be removed from society and historical records. This process, known as vaporization, creates what is called an unperson. Syme, a language expert at the Ministry of Truth, is in the process of writing the Newspeak dictionary to control the language of Oceania's citizens to the extent that they cannot criticize the party in the least. However, Syme disappears one day and is removed from all records. Because Syme knew too much, he became an unperson. The concept of unpersons is not just an idea made up by Orwell for the purpose of 1984. It is a real threat that existed during the 1930s and 40s, and though it is rare, is still practiced today. The 1930s, the Soviet Union. During the 1930s, under Joseph Stalin's control, the Soviet Union practiced the deletion of enemies from pictures, paintings, and in conversation. The enemies being erased became known as non-persons in the USSR. Oftentimes, the non-persons would be people who were once in Stalin's good graces, ranked highly amongst the Soviet officials, but fell from their ranks, were ordered to death by Stalin, and ultimately deleted from society. All Stalin had to do to ensure these people were truly gone from society was display his terrifying front as an aggressive dictator. His power and lack of mercy influenced all people in the Soviet Union to delete the images they might have owned of the non-persons, including the families of the deceased non-person. Moreover, if anyone was caught by the secret police speaking about a non-person, he or she would be in great trouble. The Soviets altered images. Since Stalin knew the value of photographs in both the historical records and his use of mass media to influence the Soviet Union, people who went against him often disappeared from photos. He retouched photos for propaganda purposes, but also to evade wrath on those who wronged him. The Soviets staged images to project themselves as a stronger and more dominant nation in order to keep other nations from interfering with them. Take the image of the Soviet soldiers raising the flag over the Reichstag building after the bombing of Berlin at the end of World War II. The image was staged and inspired by the flag raising at Iwo Jima, a notable battle won by the United States, one of the most powerful forces in World War II, to show the power of the USSR. It is also altered to conceal the stolen wristwatches on the arms of the Soviet soldiers, as Stalin had ordered his soldiers not to loot, yet, nevertheless, they stole from German citizens. Also, images including Stalin's enemies, such as Leon Trotsky and Nikolai Yezhov, were retouched to exclude them from society after they were executed by Soviet forces. In 1939, Yezhov fell from Stalin's favor after being usurped by one of his own deputies. He was denounced, secretly arrested, tried in a secret court, executed, and removed from all images, including this one in which he is smiling next to his former boss. After Trotsky was exiled by Stalin for mounting a failed opposition to his leadership, the revolutionary was sniped, airbrushed, and covered up in countless photographs. Today's unpersons, abortion speak. In a recent article from the National Catholic Register, Massachusetts pro-abortion lawmakers are discussed as trying to redefine key words in abortion bills through the Roe Act to take the humanity out of the definition of abortion, making it sound more procedural. Just as the Ministry of Truth used the word unperson in the Newspeak dictionary as a term to describe an individual who had all evidence of existence erased after being executed, The Massachusetts lawmakers are attempting to delete words such as mother and unborn child and replacing them with implanted embryo and a person's uterus, to disregard the existence of a whole group of people being executed. The government in Massachusetts more or less has a goal to make not one person an unperson, but all fetuses executed through abortion into unpersons by stripping away their identity and humanity in the eyes of the legal system before they are removed from society. The U.S.-Mexico border. Over the past year, the influx of migrants attempting to cross the United States illegally at the Mexican border has resulted in tragedy for many families. From the chaos at the border and the miscommunication between three major agencies involved, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Office of Refugee Resettlement, derived over thousands of accidental unpersons. Ann Maxwell of the Department of Health and Human Services claimed that for over a year prior to the beginning of court-ordered accounting reports, thousands of children were taken from their families, so the total number of children separated from a parent or guardian is unknown. In addition, the absence of a coordinated formal tracking system or documentation on behalf of any department dealing with the problem further complicates the issue at hand. There are currently an innumerable amount, estimated to be anywhere over 1,000, of unpersons, all minors, whose names and whereabouts are unknown, and whose parents were either detained or forced back to their country of origin without their child for years on end. Though the creation of these unpersons was accidental, unlike the Soviet Russia or 1984, the problem still exists today and rests on the shoulders of the government. The lack of protocol and early response from the preoccupied government led to these conflicts, reiterating the harm that a corrupt government can have on society as projected by George Orwell in 1984. Value your life as a person, living each day being known, valued, and treasured. You are not yet an unperson, so take advantage of that.